Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT, from cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. We'll help you leverage technology to become your most secure, efficient, and profitable. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation. We can show you where you might be vulnerable, inefficient, or overspending. It's a game changer, and it's totally free. Claim yours right now at appliedconnective.com.
If you or anyone you care about is facing a family legal matter, call Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL or visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on. Visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
If you or anyone you care about is facing divorce, contact Cordell and Cordell today. With over 100,000 clients served, we understand the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Call Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. 1221 N Street, Lincoln.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait. Apply now.
If you're tired of the dieting circuit paradox but still want to look, feel, and perform better, you need to get to Nutrition Authority and ask about our nutrition coaching featuring LifeBase. LifeBase takes the complex world of nutrition and makes it simple with real results that last. Stop in to learn more or check us out at mynutritionauthority.com.
This is Jordy Ball for Anderson Ford. For years, Anderson has relied on an exceptional customer experience. But just this once, they're going to rely on a really great pitch.
Right now, lease a 2025 Ford F-150 for $199 per month.
Experience better at Anderson Ford.
Stock number 1007055. Previous service loader. $199 per month. Lease for 36 months with approved credit. 7,500 miles per year. 6,800 to assignee. No security deposit required. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from the Anderson Auto Group by 3/31/26. See dealer for details.
Welcome into the post-game post-up. Nebraska basketball just finished up another game. Hustle down to the block and get position.
Shot clock to 7. Hoiberg missed. Got his own rebound. Right back up. Missed it.
And there he is. Garcia. How big has he been down the stretch for this Nebraska ball club?
10 points all in the second half. Now the lead back to 3.
Join 93.7 The Ticket to break down the best players and key moments from today's action.
Sanford a couple of steps from behind the line. And now Lawrence from the corner. He hits. And another eruption from all the red in Lincoln.
Not even close. Now Creighton has not been able to hit anything. 0 for 8 from distance.
Prager hits some space. He connects.
Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical.
Here we gotta go.
Down to 5. Hoiberg kicks it out. Lawrence for the win.
It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
That it is. Welcome in. Nebraska men's basketball postgame is live. 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. Streaming worldwide on our free app for your phones, as well as on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter profiles. Austin Orman, Nick Wyman with you. We are set to be joined by Nick Sainer live from the Galen Center before too long, but we will hold down the fort until we hear from the Nebraska coaches, most likely, obviously, Fred Hoiberg, and then potentially USC's Eric Musselman. We want to hear from you. As always, 402-464-5685. The magic numbers to our starter, Heyman Jewelers. Text line, Nebraska defeats USC 82-67. Nick Wyman, I think we need to start with this. History continuing to be made for Nebraska men's basketball. Of course, this is a team that ended up with the longest winning streak in school history to begin the year at 22-0. Now more school history being made. Nebraska earns its 14th win in Big Ten play, the most conference wins in a single season in program history, with still 2 more opportunities to go. The road trip will continue in Los Angeles with a game against UCLA coming up on Tuesday before wrapping up a week from tomorrow at home against Iowa. A 15-point win, the 14th conference win. Pretty cool little piece of history for this Nebraska men's basketball team.
History. I mean, I think we say it every other week. They somehow make some kind of history with this program, with the program this season. 25-4, 14-4 now in Big Ten play. Weren't projected to do this at all, and now here they are beating teams like USC, Michigan State, and whatnot. USC kind of took it to Nebraska for a little bit there in the first half. I think we said it a lot. The opposition's held a slim 5-6 point lead, and then Nebraska comes out and just scores. Nebraska drops a 50 burger in the second half, and on the road. West Coast trip's a little weird. Nebraska obviously went 2-0 last year, but you don't really see it too often. Now they get one. They'll be staying there in California as they got UCLA coming up on Tuesday. But Price Sanford, 32 points, 50% from three. What else is there to say? I feel like rinse and repeat with whatever he's doing every night. And if he's doing that at this level, you might be got a March Madness darling on your hand at this rate.
I think there's a bunch of stories, obviously, including Price Sanford. Let's go ahead and start there. Another game with over 20, another game with over 30 for him. 32 points on 21 shots. Pretty darn good efficiency. Nebraska goes 8 of 23 from three. Price Sanford with more than half the makes and almost half the attempts, going 5 of 10 from long range. This to me was a good sign, Nick, because there were some issues for Nebraska early on with USC's length and athleticism, right? Those are some teams that have given Nebraska fits. And we've talked about it on this show before. Nebraska finding ways to get Price Sanford free early was big. Nebraska also, I thought, did a really good job of taking advantage of some of the bounces going its way to find Price Sanford, right? The 3 from the corner that really got him going early on was a big one. Price Sanford continues to make his case to be a first-team All-Big Ten player, and it's a performance that, okay, you look back at the end of the day, did Nebraska, really need all of that from Price Sanford in a game that they win by 15? And probably not. But Price Sanford had 12 points in the first half for Nebraska, really keeping them afloat, right? Nebraska trailed this game by 5 at the break, and then it was about over, halfway through the second half with about 10 minutes to go. But Price Sanford scores 12 points on 8 shots. He was 2 of 4 from 3 in the first half. Nebraska being able to find ways to get him going, whether it was downhill, whether it was from the perimeter, being able to rely on Price Sanford to keep Nebraska in that game when USC came out with plenty of energy, came out fired up, and made its run kind of in that middle to late part of the first half. That to me was an encouraging sign, that Price Sanford could get going against an athletic team and that Nebraska was able to ride him in his hot hand early on in that game.
If he's going to keep doing that and, people are screening from him and he's able to get over the top of those screens and hit threes at a alarming rate. It's hard to knock that off. His third 30-point effort this season. It feels like there's been more. It just feels like there's been more. He is now 6 3-point makes away from breaking the Big Ten single season record. Coming into the year, you would have just thought, hey, if he's contributing at a high rate and Nebraska's having some success, sure. But he's doing more than that. The bar is set so high. And I read it as 3 30-point games. I swear he's had more than that, Austin. I swear.
I'm trying to think. Obviously Illinois.
He's had a lot of ones that
was Oregon the other one, or did he just get 20 in that one?
There's so many of those that he's had like 25.
Yeah.
So that is why it feels like 30. But at the same time, he's hitting threes at a high rate. When he's on, Nebraska feels like they are almost unstoppable. Frager had 17 off the bench, but this guy has 32, and USC had 67 points. He
almost had half himself.
He's on one out there, and that is encouraging sign with how they're playing. Obviously, the rest of the starters, only Rink Mass was the only one in double figures, but Nebraska just finds a way to win. They've won games a different way. This game was kind of it was a shootout to be in the game. USC was making some tough shots, made like 4 really tough shots in the first half, and that's why they got a lead. Nebraska comes back and outscored them at 1.42-19 in the second half, and the USC just kind of ran out of gas.
They did. They kind of hit the wall, and there was a big reason for that, and we'll get to that in a sec. But first, on our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line, 402-464-5685. We will go first to Rick in Wahoo. He says, nice win on this West Coast road trip. Got to find a way to beat UCLA on Tuesday. If you didn't hear it at the last segment, UCLA will come back home fresh off a loss to Minnesota. Couldn't hold a 1-point halftime advantage in the barn. John says, great win in a great season, but this Nebraska team is vulnerable when Sam Hoiberg isn't in there. That's the biggest issue that I see. Let's go ahead and talk about that aspect of things, because I think this was really an identity win for Nebraska men's basketball in a lot of ways here, Nick, because this Nebraska team played its style. It was also able to go outside of it, but we also know that Nebraska, was at an athleticism and a length disadvantage. That was obvious from the get-go when who did Nebraska have guarding Chad Baker-Mazara? It was Sam Hoiberg. From the jump, which is not the same way that USC was matching up. And Chad Baker-Mazara had 14 points in the first half to lead all scorers. He was 4 of 8, including 2 of 6 from 3. Also knocked down all 4 free throws that he attempted. Chad Baker-Mazara is a darn good player. Much as I hate to admit it, as much as I don't like the fact that he's still playing college basketball, move on, man, get a real job, go pro something. He's still in college. He's here. Nebraska had to reckon with him. And they had a hard time with that, right? Because he's crafty, he's long, he can shoot the ball pretty well from 3, came in shooting 38% from range. And Nebraska decided to stick Sam Hoiberg on him from the jump, just based on the matchups up and down, right? I think it was Lawrence on Cam Woods then, who ended up with 7 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds in the first half as well. But Nebraska not really having an answer for Chad Baker-Mazara, right? I think he could have run some circles around Price Sandfort at times. Has the same kind of height advantage, not quite as drastic over like a Cale Jacobson or a Jamarcus Lawrence, and probably a little bit too athletic for a guy like Berke Bukhtengel off the dribble. And I don't think Berke is quite as great a defender on ball as he is off ball. I liked the way Nebraska matched up. I think Sam was doing his best to compete against a taller, longer player, but Baker-Mazara was going off. But then only plays 3 minutes in the second half. He shot over to him on the sideline a couple times with that pad and that brace on his knee, the sleeve. So a knee issue of some sort it appeared to be for Chad Baker-Mazara. As soon as he, went out early in the second half, you could tell Nebraska was starting to find its footing. But if a team's identity hinges that much on one player, whether it is a guy like Sam Hoiberg for Nebraska, which I don't think it is, or with some of the other injuries that USC sustained throughout the course of the year, if the identity and a team's success hinges so much on one player, like it seemed to do for USC with Chad Baker-Mazara, that's a bad sign. Yeah, Sam Hoiberg is vitally important to this Nebraska team. He does so many things at such a high level that, yeah, Nebraska is worse when he goes to the bench. But it's not such a severe drop-off that Nebraska can't end up withstanding, 5 to 7 minutes of Sam Hoiberg on the bench, like he's Nikola Jokic, for example, right? I do think you have to point out that when Chad Baker-Mazara went out, Nebraska went on its run, but credit Nebraska for finding a way still to go on its run and take advantage of a player of that caliber not playing the final 17 minutes.
So in the first half, when USC was leading, Chad Baker-Mazara was in the game. Before the under 4 timeout, he was at half court kind of just holding the ball, trying to gather himself, kind of catch his breath.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's played for 4 different schools in 5 years, and having a guy, a scrappy player like Sam Hoiberg on him, maybe a all defensive team member of the Big Ten, more than likely is, that just adds a layer. And then he had, what'd you say, at 14? I mean, they
14 in the first half.
14 in the first half. You know how much he ended up with?
14.
14.
Yeah, didn't score in the second.
We've seen that time and time again with Nebraska playing, top scorers against teams. They've done it against Minnesota. They've done it against teams like that, where that team in the first half is able to kind of get their groove going and leading scorers around, gets double-digit points. But in the second half, they limit them. And then Nebraska is able to come out and just light a spark from no matter who touches the ball, they're able to hold on and win the game. So Bill from Bennett says, I have to wonder exactly what Fred Hoiberg said to the team at halftime, because they came out with confidence as a team and looked determined to take the soul out of USC. I mean, yeah, they did take the soul. I will say that. I mean,
I mean, they got up by as much as 20, I think was the biggest lead, at 66-46. They also did a good job of pretty much always keeping that game within arm's reach. The furthest out of hand it got was 36-29, but Nebraska was able to make it a 5-point game with the final bucket there in the final 90 seconds and keep it there. Yeah, that's been a theme with this Nebraska team, especially early in the season, is, I keep going back to the boxing analogy, right? What's the guy want to do, right? You throw your jabs, jab here, jab there, defend against any big body blows. And sure, USC absolutely had some positive moments in the first half, but it felt maybe a little less sustainable because, Nebraska, I thought, did play pretty well defensively, was at least contesting shots. USC poked a couple holes here and there, but I felt, Nick, like that first half was Nebraska just kind of taking USC's best shot and understanding that it would have maybe more of the depth, the consistency to overcome that in the second half. Again, Baker Mazzara going out was certainly a big piece of that. I think that's a guy that could have continued to give Nebraska some fits, but he wasn't there. Nebraska took full advantage. And this felt more like early season Nebraska to me, where, you take the opponent's best shot in the first half and then you leave absolutely no doubt in the second.
Also on the YouTube chat, Husker Bersker, I think it's how Berserker. There we go. Yeah. Reading's hard, people. Reading's hard, people. The loud "Go Big Red" chants were lit. I mean, yeah, you have the West Coast. Cal Nebraska back. Cal Nebraska. Is it back? Is it back? But no, having that kind of road trip. This is a team that people want to travel for, including Nick Sainer. He's down there. We'll have him on here in a little bit whenever he chimes in from California. Just having that kind of, this is a team where, you see it with Duke and teams like that and Gonzaga. They have a traveling fan base. Nebraska does too, but we haven't really seen it over the years in basketball because some of the seasons have kind of gotten out of hand and stuff like that. But this is a team who's ranked, going to be fighting for a 3 seed in the Big Dance. And you have a fan base behind you, fans behind you, parents, coaches' wives, whatever and whatnot behind you. That's awesome to see. And then if you see it now in the USC, wait a couple more weeks until the Big Ten tournament in Chicago. I cannot wait to see what the backing is for a team like Nebraska, who didn't even make the Big Ten tournament last year.
Right. 402-464-5685 with your thoughts. If you want to be like me, head out to LA on a Tuesday for Nebraska and UCLA. Do so with our friends at the Lincoln Airport. American Airlines is back at the Lincoln Airport, bringing new nonstop flights from Lincoln to Dallas-Fort Worth, as well as Chicago O'Hare starting in June. They'll also have seasonal winter service to Phoenix that will start up in winter of 2026. Tickets on sale now. 402-464-5685, our starter at Heyman Jewelers text line. Brian on YouTube says, bet Ezra Asar regrets not coming here. That's a guy that Nebraska targeted pretty late in the portal cycle. Like Brian mentions, does end up going to USC. The final numbers for Asar: 5 points on 4 shots, 3 at the free throw line, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. He's starting at USC, whereas I think he probably would have been Jared Garcia. That's the guy that Nebraska pivoted to. And maybe as an upperclassman, a guy that's played some high major basketball before, maybe Ezra Asar would have been able to carve out a more consistent role than Jared Garcia has. Garcia takes 3 shots in 5 minutes, goes scoreless with 5 rebounds for Nebraska today. I don't know if he regrets going to USC. I mean, they're still having a fine season at 18-11 right now. Again, had some injuries decimate them at times, that they found ways to survive and play through, if not necessarily thrive. But, if you turn down a bench role and, probably okay money for a starting role and probably assumably better money, it's hard for me to fault a young man like that. Brian Potter, really want to get to your comment here. But before we do that, Nick, let's go ahead and talk just kind of big picture about that second half. A half that Nebraska, you said, got up, 42-19, I think, at one point, a 51-31 advantage when it's all said and done, including a 15-0 kill shot in the middle of the second half. Not punctuated by, but within that stretch, Rink Mast actually dunked. Like straight up, Rink Mast rumbled down the lane off a pick and roll and threw down a one-handed dunk. That's a sign that it was, probably Nebraska's day in some way, shape, or form. Rink has that ability, chooses not to more often than not. But it was good to see Rink get up like that. Tough day from the floor for him. Still found a way to be productive against a long, athletic front line. But if you look just in that second half, 19 minutes from Sam Hoiberg, 19 minutes from Price Sandfort. You get to 14 minutes off the bench for Frager, 13 for Mast there in that second half. But I really thought a big key outside of, Price Sandfort's scoring, 20 points on 13 shots, 3 made threes in the second half. He also pulled down 5 rebounds there. Jamarcus Lawrence did a great job setting the stage, only took 2 shots, only made free throws, but 5 assists in the second half for him. But Berke Buiktenjel had a really solid second half. He was fine in the first half, but really came alive with 7 points, including an and 1, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists, really helping Nebraska wall up on the interior when USC tried to get back going there late in the second half. I thought this was a really good return to California for Berke Buiktenjel, who, of course, began his college career at UCLA. I thought he was a big reason for Nebraska's success, especially defensively, holding USC to just 10 of 26 there in the second frame, helping Nebraska dominate the glass, which we'll absolutely get to. But I thought it was a really encouraging, really positive performance out of Berke Buiktenjel.
I was waiting for somebody to mention the rebounds. That was kind of my next topic.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. I know everybody wants to talk about the rebounding, so we'll keep that in your back pocket. We'll talk about it. But yes, this team was able to just dominate in the second half. And this is a team that held USC. They made a lot of really good threes. I know they made like 3 or 4 in the first half, and I think they finished 4 of 21 from the 3-point line, shooting 19%.
Well, yeah, so they finished 4 of 24. They were 0 of 9 in the second half. Second time Nebraska's held a yellow and red
it was
team
Minnesota.
to 0 for a half.
That was
Minnesota.
That was also on a Saturday. I'm getting flashbacks. See, I know I've seen it. I know I've seen
it. Was
this.
on the road too.
I know I've seen this game before.
We live in a simulation.
It feels like the same game. I mean, that's good though. That means Nebraska, you trust them in situations like that. Nebraska down at the half against a team. USC is not a bad team. USC is a team that is kind of they're kind of a bubble team, I'd say. They're a bubble team more than likely, depending on who you look at. But they're a solid team. They have solid wins in the Big Ten. They also have some losses like last weekend against Oregon. And this was an opportunity there for them to boost themselves. We saw it with a team like Iowa. They tried to, that's what they did with Nebraska. This was USC's last chance before UCLA and Washington close out the regular season to boost themselves. They are also kind of like that Minnesota team. Also, they are on a losing skid coming into this game as well. They lost to Ohio State, Illinois, Oregon, and UCLA coming into this game. So, like you said, we do probably live in a simulation here. I feel like we've seen this game before. But to credit Nebraska, I mean, 50 points in the second half. We've seen games where Nebraska slumped to shoot. We've seen them win games and gritty games like a Michigan State game. We've seen them win in shootouts before. We've seen them win in multiple different facets of the game of basketball. That's just what's the beauty of the sport. The game the other night with Iowa and Nebraska, nobody reaches 60 points. That same night, Arkansas plays Alabama in a game that reaches almost 120 points. That's the beauty of basketball. You never know which script you're going to get and how you're going to do it. And Nebraska is a team that no matter if you're scoring 60 points or 115 points, Nebraska, I think, is a team that could win in either one of those kind of ball games.
14 conference wins for Nebraska men's basketball, new program record. It comes in a 15-point win on the road at USC, an 82-67 Husker win. Turnovers and rebounding are a big topic. We'll talk about that next. But first, I want to thank our good friends over at John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical. They're proudly serving the Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas. John Henry's can assist you with any service like electrical maintenance, installation, or repair. Call today, 402-809-1159. You can also visit them online at jhlincoln.com. Keep the comments rolling in on YouTube. Brian, we see you. Captain Cody as well. And on our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line 9104 and Wet Blanket. We'll talk possession battle, turnovers, rebounding, and more when we get back to Nebraska men's basketball postgame.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate. Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Dio Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Dio Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diotech online at diotech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
It's seafood season at Amigos. Time to get that one-of-a-kind, crisp crab rangoon burrito and dip it in some sweet chili sauce. There's a crab rangoon Frenchie, too. Enjoy grilled fish, grilled shrimp, or crispy fish tacos. Wrapped in warm whole wheat tortillas. Topped with pico de gallo, cabbage, and Amigos Chipotle mayo sauce. From jumbo shrimp baskets or fish and chips to fish tacos, there's something for everyone. You'll love the bold, fresh flavors of seafood at Amigos. Amigos is serving up a brand new way to score the bold, fresh flavors you love with 8 affordable value meals. At $5 and $6, these meals are easy on the wallet, so treat yourself anytime. Sink into the new 3-cheese melt or taco melt, both stacked with crave-worthy flavor in every bite. There's crunchy taquito dippers, too, perfect for dunking in Amigos' famous ranch or spicy cheese. Big flavor, small price. Value meals at Amigos.
It's the two-fingered wave on a gravel road. It's letting the kids take dad's truck to prom. It's Friday nights under the lights of a hometown football field. Eustace Body Shop knows small towns. It's where our values are rooted. We treat our people right, and in turn, they treat you, our customer, right. And we give back to our communities. Not much more small town than that. Eustace Body Shop, small town service, big city technology.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks. Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
And electrical.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. Now back to the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket. Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical. It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome back in. Nebraska men's basketball post-game coverage is live on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Austin Orman, Nick Wyman with you here at 1040 O Street. Nick Sainer working on connecting from the Galen Center out there in Los Angeles. 402-464-5685. You can be a part of the show if you'd like. Big thanks to our guy, Jack Russell at Farm Bureau Financial Services. He's been a Farm Bureau agent since 1999. Give Jack a call today to learn how he can make it easy to protect the things that are most important to you, your home, your family, your farm, and your future. You can give Jack a call today, 402-421-9100. Let's go ahead and bring in Nick Sainer live from the Galen Center in Los Angeles. Nick, a 14th conference win for Nebraska men's basketball. They win it by 15, 82-67. Your reaction, your thoughts being there live at the Galen Center in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Hey guys, can you guys got me?
We got you.
Okay, cool. I wanted to double check because I've had some issues with this microphone. Good afternoon, guys. Galen Center. It's been good to Nebraska in the past, and it was good again today, especially in the second half. I'm sure you guys have talked about it, the difference that this team plays and how they play when Sam Hoiberg is on the floor. But I also thought the untold and the unsung hero today, in addition to Price's 32 points that he had, was Berke Biyukdengel. And I asked Fred about that a couple of times. I asked Sam about him a couple of times as well. And I thought that there was a lot of guys that just kind of played their role today. You didn't have to ask too much of Rink Mast. And it's kind of interesting because maybe this is a conversation for another time, but I'll go ahead and at least introduce it. Maybe that is who Rink Mast is now. And Nebraska just might not be able to ask as much as we expected coming into this season from Rink Mast. But nonetheless, Nebraska gets it done, and they get it done by 15, where in moments in the first half, especially when Sam Hoiberg was not on the floor, guys, it looked a little dicey.
Yeah, Nebraska trailed by as much as 7 in that first half. Nick, what was your feeling? What was the vibe out there? We heard as a pretty, scarlet and cream contingent out there, and not just maroon and gold or, crimson gold, whatever colors USC will claim to have. What was the vibe among Nebraska fans when the Huskers get off to a pretty good start? USC goes on the run and ends up leading by as much as 7. Seemed like Nebraska was struggling with USC's length around the rim, but they were able to get Price Sanford going enough to keep them in it and, almost match what Chad Baker-Mazara was doing.
Well, and that's funny that you mentioned Chad Baker-Mazara, because a guy that played, a pretty hefty amount in the first half, looked dead tired, and then in the second half, 3 minutes for Chad Baker-Mazara, and that's a crazy part of it. And I was listening to Eric Musselman in the postgame, and he was talking about how that's a concern for them, and has been, is that Chad has just not been able to withstand the minutes. And I mean, Chad's one of the more established players, I would say it, in college basketball. And so it's similar to the Rink Mast stuff, is once you get to a certain age, you might just not be able to do as much. Now, to your point, and
upperclassman Darren Peterson is all he is at this point.
Great point. Great point. I'm glad you brought him into it. But no, I think, okay, so the thought process, with the 7 minutes left or so, Austin, you were there. I even tweeted this out. It felt a lot like Minnesota. And Fred actually, he didn't say it specifically, but he kind of hinted at it, to where he goes, look, when I jumped on the guys at halftime, he goes, I also added the fact of, guys, we could be down 20 right now, and here we are. It's a 2-possession game. And I kind of looked over at a couple other media members that were up here, and we all kind of shared the same thought process regarding, look, Nebraska is clearly the better team once they get Sam Hoiberg back on the floor with fresh legs. Who knows what can happen there. And then on top of that is, can USC sustain this? And it goes back to what we talked about way at the beginning of the season of Nebraska's just better than teams. And in previous years, Nebraska would be the USC in this case, where they start so well. And the question at halftime is, can Nebraska sustain it? That was the question with USC today. And ultimately they go 0 for 9 from the 3-point line in the second half. Austin, they did not make a 3-point shot since the 8-minute and 23-second mark in the first half. The closeouts, the defense was so much stronger for Nebraska.
Well, you think about the last time Nebraska held a team 0 for the second half, it was that comeback win against Minnesota. I think Minnesota went 0 for 10 or 11 in the second half in that game. And Nick, let's go ahead, because we have a comment on our Starter Human Jewelers text line about that with Sam Hoiberg. Wet Blanket says, far be it from me to criticize Fred Hoiberg, who has forgotten more about basketball than I know, but what is the obsession with sitting players with 2 fouls? He sits Sam for 9 minutes in the first half, goes into halftime down 5. Sam finishes the game with 3 and didn't pick up his third until there were less than 4 minutes left in the game. I will never understand fouling your players out when they only have 2 fouls. How would you react to that comment from Wet Blanket?
Well, I think, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, that's who Fred Hoiberg is. And I think, conversely, I could argue with that and say, well, it hasn't come back to kill Nebraska too often yet, right? Nebraska's 25-4, and they are 14-4 in the Big Ten Conference after this afternoon's game. And I think that might be part of the Fred Hoiberg response. Austin, you and I have talked about that, where it's, we could ask Fred and go, okay, well, why do you do that, right? Because don't you trust your guys? Don't you trust your son to not foul and to be disciplined? And his answer can be yes, but also his answer can be, well, this is who I am. This is the track record. And ultimately, it hasn't come back to bite us too often yet. And
what he
on the other side,
the officiating in this league, I can't trust those guys. So whether that's true or not, I think there would be that undercurrent underneath that discussion as well. That even if, Fred Hoiberg would like to trust an upperclassman like Sam, sometimes like Rink Mast, even Price Sanford a couple times, it's sometimes less about the player and more about the extenuating circumstances and other factors outside of their control.
Bingo, outside of your control. I think also the other piece of this, and we could dive so deep into this and say, okay, would Sam have been would it have been beneficial for Nebraska to be up by 2 instead of down by 6 at half or whatever they were? Like, sure. But also Nebraska did enough. And then in the second half, you can kind of go without any sort of restriction. You don't have to worry about it in the second half also. And then last but not least, Austin, this is the biggest point I will make. And we can talk about it so often in comparison and conversation with other sports within Nebraska's athletic department. And it's not apples to apples, but how about when the bullets are flying, having a coach that doesn't panic, having a coach that has a plan. It is set up no matter what, whether Nebraska's down by 8, up by 8, down by 20, up by 20. This is who you are. And we clamor and we beg all calendar year long for coaches in Nebraska's athletic department to be who they are, whether it's a comfortable circumstance or an uncomfortable circumstance. And now we're arguing and fighting because he's who he is when Nebraska's down on the road to a team that they were clearly better than. Like, I won't subscribe to that because this is who Fred is. We've seen it time and time again. And I, for one, am thrilled that whether the bullets are flying or not, Fred does the same exact thing.
It's identity, it's process, it's plan, and that all goes into, preparing so you don't have to panic and you're not necessarily surprised in those moments. I think one of the other things I would throw out there and echo you is you would rather, try to play even and survive the rest of the first half than have to go a crucial 9-minute stretch there in the second half without Sam Hoiberg, right? Because if you play the final 10 of the first half without him, yeah, it's not great. You could tell Nebraska maybe looked a little clunky and looked a little bit out of sorts without him out there. And, that speaks volumes about Sam Hoiberg and the role he plays. But the risk-reward calculation for picking up a third foul early in the second half as opposed to in the first half, maybe you trust a guy to play through it. Dan and Canopy talks about, the way they were playing the game. You'd much rather try to survive that stretch earlier. So if it does go poorly, it's kind of like, going for 2 down by 14 points, right? If you get it, in football, you can go ahead and take the lead with an extra point. But if you don't go for it, you kick the extra point, then the other team scores, well, you're still chasing. You're still trailing. Know as early as possible the way the game is going and what you're going to need to do to try to find a way to win it. A few more from our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line saying, yeah, it's old school, it's smart, probably more concerned about the officials. It's pretty much any coach anywhere, and appreciate people chiming in on that. I think to your point, that is who it is. We'll keep this conversation rolling and pause for ID here in a couple minutes, but you talk about identity, process, plan. Nick, I never sensed that from USC. I've really never gotten any sort of, identity, process, or plan from an Eric Musselman team. It just feels like a roll the ball out there, athletic, Fred Hoiberg called them a talented team after the game on Wednesday against Maryland, because you can't point to anything I think that USC did particularly well coming into the game, right? They didn't have that organizer. So much was based around Chad Baker-Mazara getting to the free throw line and hitting tough shots in the first half, that when he went out, there didn't seem to be any sort of coherent plan or process for USC to stick to, which is where I give Nebraska a lot of credit. They had their issues with USC's length. I think just 16 of 29 on layups for the game. Nebraska didn't panic when things weren't going its way, when Sam Hoiberg went out in the first half. Nebraska stayed true to who it was, and I think that paid dividends down the stretch when Nebraska goes on that 15-0 run to really put that game on ice.
I think you're absolutely right. I think also here's the other side of it all. With Eric Musselman, I think you're right about the lack of identity. And I broached this question last night as I was kind of out and talking with some folks. And I wonder what the thoughts are about Eric Musselman here at USC. Because, yeah, like they're 18-11. They needed this win bad. USC's now lost 5 in a row in a crucial moment. And don't forget, on Joe Lunardi's latest bracket prediction, and everybody knows how big of a fan I am of Joe Lunardi, but on his latest bracket prediction, USC was first 4 out, right? Like they are as bubble can be right now, with now 2 games left this year. They needed this so bad. And yet, once again, I go back to when we talk identity versus not having one. Nebraska tonight, I think there was also moments where they went away from what we usually see them do. Look at the second half, and this is a positive. I mean this in a positive way. You look at the second half, Nebraska was fine. They used the 3-ball to kind of get into a run. But then what did Price Sanford do? Multiple times, Price was able to beat him off the dribble. Multiple times we saw Nebraska go to the rim. I thought Nebraska's pick and roll, or the high action, was really, really successful tonight, and they continued to go back to it.
Dunked. That's out of character.
Rink Mass dunk. But I mean that whole list. Like, we asked Price after the game. I can't remember which one of us did. There's only 2 of us here. And there will be 2 of you guys here on Tuesday, Austin. But I can't remember which one of us asked it and which one of us got the answer. But like, Price obviously has had to find ways, and we've been talking about it ad nauseum these last few weeks, of like Fred and his staff and then Price have to find creative ways to still get Price touches and to get him volume. Tonight, I felt like, or this afternoon, today, it felt like for the first time we saw it to the full capability, where Price was able to hit some of his acrobatic 3-point shots that he can always do and you sometimes rely on. But then he also was able to move so much like he always does without the basketball. And they were able, despite USC's length, to be able to get some shots on the doorstep.
Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station identification. We'll pick up that point next on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Yeah, Nick, I think that's a great way to phrase it, is that, we talk about Nebraska's depth and tout its balance all the time. Nebraska, I think, those at its best when the threat of Price Sanford or whoever it is that's going off is leveraging opportunities to get to the rim for other guys. Like it was Price Sanford tonight, obviously, but Frager had a big second half with 14 on 5 of 7, right? The 3-pointer is what gets talked about in the Fred Hoiberg offense. But I brought this up the other day on Old School, is even though the 3-pointer gets the attention, part of the purpose of the 3-pointer is to get Nebraska to the rim. When shots aren't falling, it clogs the paint. So Nebraska, is a team that needs that space to get to the rim, right? Nebraska's not going to break people down and get to the rim like Baker Mazzara could, like Elijah Arenas will want to do, or like some more dynamic lead guards in the Big Ten have done against Nebraska. But the fact that Price Sanford can go 5 of 10 from 3 opens up those driving lanes for him. That's what Fred Hoiberg talks about when you see pressure. Your eyes should light up, because if you can get your shoulder past a guy, you have an advantage. Nebraska didn't shy away from pressure. They had a couple up and down moments in the second half against the press that we can talk about here in just a minute. But against a long athletic team, maybe it was because it was a lack of defensive identity and USC just kind of being out there, having a guy that they were assigned to more so than guarding a guy. I didn't feel that USC was quite as intentional with applying pressure to Nebraska. And as soon as USC was willing to sit back and just kind of rely on its length to bail it out instead of being actually aggressive with Nebraska, Nebraska sensed those openings, hit the threes to open up the lane that got Price Sanford downhill. And we'll talk about this more too. USC's length didn't bother Nebraska like some other teams have before. That's, I think, a great sign as Nebraska turns the corner into March, that maybe, just maybe, against, like you said, a team that desperately needed this win that could have caused Nebraska some problems. Nebraska problem solved its way through it in a big way with a 15-point win.
And Austin, like, maybe this is going to sound like maybe Kool-Aid or I'm trying to appease the masses by saying this, but think about, like, this should give confidence to Huskers fans, because, like, this is the type of team that Nebraska could see in round 2 or in the round of 64. Like, I maybe a little bit better in the round of 64 than USC, but what I'll get to is, you're not a lot of it in March, and you know way better than I do. I mean, it's a lot of it's matchup based, right? Like, how do you match up against these guys? Well, what Nebraska's shown us is that they can at least compete against multiple styles, if you will. Tonight, you mentioned, like, the length sometimes bailed USC out, especially in that first half. But then over the course of 40 minutes, it kind of just evened out, and the better team just won. Like, I don't know. We love to overanalyze, and I think there's ways to do it, and it's important to do it in some areas of this game today. But I would also just add in, like, Nebraska, as a good team does, made an adjustment at half. Sam talked about how he saw some things in the locker room from the sideline that he then talked about with Berke and with Price in the second half, and Jamarcus. And there were it was not a perfect second half, but when you can come out and outscore your opponent 20-6 in the second half to start, that is as good and as much as you can ask for. Nebraska did not allow, we talked about the rebounding, Nebraska did not allow a second chance point until the under 4-minute media timeout in the second half. Those types of things, that type of effort, and frankly, doing it in a regular season game can hopefully provide confidence if Nebraska needs that going forward. Hopefully it can provide confidence to know, hey, we got this in our bag if we need to reach deep in there.
Do you have time to stick around for another segment if we go to break?
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and do that. Big thanks to all our great sponsors, including Union Bank and Trust. Get a great rate on 6, 12, or 24-month CD with Union Bank and Trust. Learn more at ubt.com. On stream from the Galen Center in Los Angeles, he's Nick Sainer back at 1040 O Street, Austin Orman and Nick Wyman. More of your thoughts about the possession battle, offensive rebounds and turnovers, how Nebraska was able to use those as a catalyst to win at 82-67. We'll wrap up the show with that.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT. From cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. We'll help you leverage technology to become your most secure, efficient, and profitable. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation. We can show you where you might be vulnerable, inefficient, or overspending. It's a game changer, and it's totally free. Claim yours right now at appliedconnective.com.
A membership with John Henry's will fast track you to front-of-the-line service, seasonal tune-ups, and far fewer unexpected moments. That means no breakdowns, no waiting on a call, and no nonsense. It's consistent care that prevents small issues from turning into big bills. Join the Comfort Club and get VIP treatment 365 days a year with 24-hour priority response, member-only discounts, and peace of mind on your home's most expensive systems. Call John Henry's.
John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Dio Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Dio Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diotech online at diotech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
At Doane University, we build leaders, and that means your success and achievements come first. Now is the time to get a glimpse into living and learning at Doane University through a personalized in-person or virtual visit. We know once you experience Doane, you'll see why it's a place where you can achieve your goals and shape your future. Schedule your personal campus visit today at doane.edu/visit.
Eustis Body Shop started as a single shop in Eustis in 1979. Since then, we've been getting Nebraskans back on the road. We treat our customers right and have never forgotten our roots, even as we've grown to 8 locations across the state. That's why Eustis Body Shop works hard to ensure our customer safety and offers free loaner cars to keep you moving. Eustis Body Shop, where our customers send their friends.
The most recommended Eustis Body Shop. That's who we are.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit OStreetCarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Now back to the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket. Post-game coverage of Nebraska basketball on The Ticket is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, the Lincoln Airport, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical. It's the post-game post-up on 93.7 The Ticket.
Welcome back in one final time to Nebraska men's basketball. Post-game, Austin Norman, Nick Wyman here at 1040 O Street. Nick Sainer made the trip out to L.A. for the first game of the 2-game road swing for Nebraska. He and I will trade places coming up here in the next couple of days. Big thanks to Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, as well as the Lincoln Airport for helping us make our way to all the fun road trips that we're able to go to. Nick, we want to talk some possession battles here in the final segment. You mentioned the rebounding. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't come up yet. It was on my list of things to talk about, but we'll start more with the turnovers because we have a comment from Brian on YouTube that says the turnovers were concerning today. Frager and Lawrence were very sloppy with the ball. Need to take better care of it come at tourney time when guard play is huge. Nebraska ends up with 2 fewer turnovers than USC, 12 for Nebraska, 14 for USC. What did you make of just specifically the turnovers that Nebraska had throughout the course of the 40 minutes.
Yeah, I understand the concern. I thought Nebraska cleaned it up in the second half. It was interesting because it felt like, at least here, and I understand that scoreboard matters the most. Despite it being a 12-point ball game on the scoreboard, it felt like it was a 24-point ball game. That's just what it felt like. It felt like all the air out of USC was taken out of their sails, and out of their air. But I just think that in terms of, is it a concern for me? Like, no, I still trust Jamarcus Lawrence with the basketball in situations. I think there were moments where we saw Braden Frager be a freshman, and I think we've seen that over the course of the last couple of weeks. But Fred talked about it, and I know they're aware of it. He mentioned, he's like, we are just so much better when we slow down. And I think a big part of that was having Sam Hoiberg on the floor. I think a large part of that tonight was also, in moments, Berke on the floor. He just slowed down in the second half. It was a little bit of a concern in the first half. Also, we can't argue, and we can't forget to mention just the way that the game was officiated. The first half, Nebraska could not buy a whistle. I understand that they don't attack the bucket a whole lot, but there was a lot that was allowed to be played. I'm not trying to sit here after every game and talk about the officials, but it's a consistent and a constant for us. The turnovers, not necessarily a massive concern for me. I don't know about you, Austin. Maybe I'm downplaying them.
No, I mean, this was a long, athletic USC team that I think, to your point, was allowed to play a little more physical, especially at the rim. Nebraska still has, a top 25 turnover rate in the country. They take care of it so well on offense, especially when I'm going to say play deliberately, right? Play with purpose, right? I think those are the words that Fred Hoiberg has used throughout the course of the year, right? He doesn't want Nebraska getting into track meets, especially with teams like Maryland and USC that might be able to out-athlete them. Now, Nebraska can get sped up a little bit, right? Mentally try to do a little bit too much too quick. Frager still needs to work on tightening the handle, but what freshman doesn't necessarily? And, you mentioned Nebraska clean it up. 7 first-half turnovers, only 3 in the second half with 2 other team turnovers in there as well. The pressure, Nebraska didn't handle it perfectly when USC put some full-court press on in the second half, which is a little bit of a concern for me. But the other part of it, Nick, I think, too, is you can't just look at Nebraska's turnovers, right? Oh, Nebraska turned it over 12 times. They gave up 14 points off of turnovers. Yeah, I mean, that's factual, but there's more to it than that. Nebraska ends up taking 17 more shots on the day than USC. And yeah, the Trojans end up shooting 1% better, but Nebraska makes 7 more field goals than USC. They make 4 more threes because guess what? Nebraska turned USC over 14 times itself. Nebraska was much more efficient, right? USC got 1 point per turnover, right? 12 points off 12 turnovers. Nebraska ends up with 19 points off of 14 USC turnovers. And that, to me, is secondary to the work that Nebraska did on the offensive glass. This is not a game that I expected Nebraska to go out there and end up with 18 offensive rebounds. USC could have done that to Nebraska. Had they put their mind to it, they didn't. Nebraska dominated the glass against this USC team, win it overall 41-25 with 18 offensive rebounds. We mentioned 19 points off turnovers. How about 19 points off of second chances? So think about it this way, fans, I would say. USC ends up with, let's call it 17 extra possessions off 12 Nebraska turnovers and 5 offensive rebounds. Nebraska almost doubles them in those free possessions with 14 turnovers and 18 offensive rebounds, leading to 32 free possessions and 38 points off of those possessions. Nick, that's the most offensive rebounds Nebraska has had, I believe, since Northwestern, when Nebraska had 13 earlier this year, but the most as a program since Nebraska had 17 offensive rebounds in the win against Kansas State down in Bramlage, where 11 of those came from Jawan Gary. So we talk about the identity for Nebraska, right? Sticking to the plan. Nebraska also did something that has never been on the bingo card. Attacking the offensive glass like that, being that efficient with it, that's what good teams, and to your point, the better team today found a way to do, is do something the other team's not ready for. Find a different way to hang in the game and find maybe a new advantage. Finding ways to win like that benefits a team so much in March.
100%. 19 second chance points. You talked about it, right? I think Nebraska's just rebounding effort the last 2 games specifically has been pretty good, especially from Price. And I thought it was important to note. I know that the press conference wasn't broadcasted today, like it sometimes or most usually time, like as usual it is. Price admitted to us, and I know he's talked about it a little bit in the last couple of weeks, that he's worked through his injury stuff. He's fully healthy. He's good. He feels good about things. He has 23 rebounds in the last 3 games from Price Sanford. Like things like that matter. I also think we saw Nebraska in the second half, Austin, translate defensive success and pressure into their will offensively. And that carries over into the offensive glass. Because in that second half, in the early stages of it, when that run was at the start of it, when it was at the start of the run for Nebraska basketball in that second half, they turned stops defensively, maybe into a missed shot offensively, but then they had more of a desire to go up and try to extend the offensive possession. There was just more energy, more momentum, and in a very Husker-heavy crowd, it was easy for those fans to then also get behind them, and the rising tide lifted every single boat on the floor for Nebraska today. And I think that's just you make a great point. And find creative ways, not even creative, just find other ways to beat teams when they don't expect you to beat them in that fashion. We know Nebraska more times than not is going to have a good assist to turnover ratio. Today it was 20 assists on 12 turnovers. We've seen games from them where they've had 20 assists on 6 turnovers, 18 assists on 5 turnovers in conference play. That's what Nebraska hangs their hat on, and you can still be a large version of that while still keeping the other team off balance, and that's what they did today.
In a big way, 82-67, Nebraska ends up winning it. A kill shot run for Nebraska there in the middle of the second half. Really good stuff there on our Sutter Heyman Jewelers text line and our YouTube comment sections as well. Nick, let's go ahead and bring up the school history. 14 conference wins, the most in school history for Nebraska. Now their 7th road win in the conference. The previous best was 5. This team continues to set history, to set records, give reasons that the fan base should be confident coming up here in March. One more game to go on this West Coast road swing. Did Fred Hoiberg mention anything about what Sunday and Monday look like for this team, and your thoughts headed into UCLA after seeing Nebraska win tonight?
Well, UCLA lost a bad one today, right? I'm sure Mick Cronin is just thrilled with his team's performance today. They lost lost a bad game today. But what I would say, so keeping a Nebraska focus on it, sounds like they're going to stay at their USC hotel. It's a block away from where we're at, right here at the Galen Center. They're going to stay there tonight. They have a 12:30 practice tomorrow at Pauley. They're going to practice at Pauley at the home of the Bruins tomorrow and Monday. They will transfer hotels from the USC hotel tomorrow. They'll transfer over into Westwoods area and check into their new hotel tomorrow night. Stay there Sunday and Monday. And then obviously the 10 p.m. Central Time tip-off for Nebraska and UCLA. It should be a good one. Another team that needs wins, right? Like this is, Austin, this is what we talked about. We talked about this earlier in the week. Nebraska can, if they're able to get it 2-0 at the end of this road trip, man, not only is that as good as you can do, but you talk about an Iowa team that lost a bad one on the road at Penn State today. You are firmly in the driver's seat for, being able to close out this season on a really strong performance and get what everybody wants you to get, that triple bye. You don't have to play until Friday. The ultimate rest. We saw what fresh legs did for Sam Hoiberg tonight in the second half. Imagine having a week off for this Nebraska team. Most importantly, for a guy like Rink Mast, where you might need to play him 38 minutes in a game just because the veteran leadership and presence. Having that extra day might be very beneficial, more beneficial than we even realized, because Nebraska's never been in that spot.
Indeed, Nebraska, 2 regular season games to go. I will be out there on Tuesday for that one. Before we let you go, Nick, our guy Raph wants to know what you're up to tonight. What's the plan? Are you hitting the Sunset Strip? You going to Billy's? That's where Raph would go, apparently. What is the plan for you in LA?
I'll be honest. So this morning, I hit a lot of things this morning. I ended up getting up at so the time change, Austin, you'll experience this. We're not out here long enough individually because I'm back I'm back tomorrow by noon or so. You'll be back on Wednesday by 12:45 or something like that. Like, we're not out here long enough to worry about acclimating ourselves to the time change. So last night I ended up going to a rooftop establishment, and it was a great spot in downtown Los Angeles. But then this morning I woke up naturally at 4:45 LA time. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I'm just going to stick with this. Ended up going to Venice Beach. I went to the boardwalk and kind of walked along that as the sun rose this morning. People can make fun of me all they want. That's what I did. Found a great cafe. I sat and drank a cup of coffee and prepped for this game from alongside the beach and the boardwalk there. And then I ended up just driving around for a couple of hours to Beverly Hills and Hollywood and Pasadena and places like that. Did the whole sightseeing thing, and ultimately then got back to the hotel, came over to the arena tonight. I don't really have a plan. I'm going to find a great sports bar as long as they have some TVs there. There's a couple of good college basketball games. I thought about Austin. The LA Kings are playing at the Crypto Center tonight. They're playing at, I believe, at 4 p.m., so I'm already late. But USC is only about a 10-minute drive from our hotel. And which, by the way, Austin, you're staying in the same one that I'm staying in. Here's the deal, man. You want to talk about everything is connected with technology. You run all of the blinds, the lights, your TV through an iPad. You walk into the room, an iPad is sitting on a charger, and that's literally how you control everything in your room. It's absolutely bonkers.
No wonder things are so expensive out there in California. If you're running everything,
tell me about it.
Jeez. Well, good to know that Venice Beach is an option out there. I was thinking Santa Monica Pier. Hit up the Santa Monica Pier potentially. Hollywood sign. Is that what you meant by Hollywood?
Yeah. So I did not go all the way up to the Hollywood sign, but I did see it. I do know. Here's what I will say. Tonight, I think I'm going to get In-N-Out. And as stupid as and as silly as that is, I think, I'll tell everybody, I have a 5 a.m. flight tomorrow morning out of LA. So I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight because I'll leave and get back to the airport about 3:30, 3:15, tomorrow morning or so. And so I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight. So I think I gotta find an In-N-Out and eat that at like midnight tonight. We'll be all good to go.
Here's the thing. I'm glad you're doing that because I'm just always mortified I'm going to miss my alarm, and I haven't yet, but it's just always a thought in the back of my head.
Austin, here's the thing. So shout out to the Lincoln Airport. Phenomenal. And the travel out here, knock on wood tomorrow. The weather looks good in obviously LA. It was 88 or 89 degrees today in LA. It was unbelievable. I think it's still 82 degrees because it's only 4:30 here. But anyway, so the best part of it all, Austin, is that we leave, at 5 a.m. and the travel was not a problem at all. But on Tuesday, you're going to have an 8 p.m. 8 p.m. local time tip-off, a 5 a.m. flight the next day. I don't know how you can justify sleeping that night.
I'm not even going to try. I'm going to stay awake.
Good.
If I need to sleep on the plane, so be it. I can do that, but usually I'll need my neck pillow. Otherwise, I end up in all sorts of uncomfortable positions with my neck. So, all right, whatever your plans are, whatever your plans turn into, enjoy them. Best of luck with the travel. Safe travels. Thanks for hopping on Postgame, my friend.
Austin, appreciate you as always. I'm excited for you to get out here. I'm jealous that you get to experience Pauley Pavilion, but hopefully you can do exactly what I did today. Bring back a W, and we can talk about a 4-game, or excuse me, what would that be? 5-game winning streak? No, 4-game winning streak Nebraska men's basketball team as they get ready for Iowa March 8th.
There you have it. Nick Sainer with us live from USC. We will let him go and get on with whatever his night entails. He mentioned that potential 4-game winning streak for Nebraska. They avoid a bad result on a day full of them in the Big Ten. Oregon goes down on the road at Northwestern. We mentioned Minnesota taking down UCLA by 5 at the Barn. And, of course, Penn State knocking off Iowa in Happy Valley. That'll do it for us, though, on the Nebraska men's basketball post-game show. Big thanks, as always, to the great people that make it possible. Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport. Thanks to everyone chiming in on YouTube and on our starter Heyman Jewelers text line as well. I would say I'd talk more about this game on Monday, but just kidding. No, I won't. I will be making my way out there to the Golden State, replacing Nick Sainert on the California trip. For Nick and Nick, I'm Austin. It's been a blast. We'll talk again soon.